You as an entrepreneur get stronger. You as a leader get stronger. And then when you get stronger, the thing seems easier. I'm Danny, and this is the Memory Makers Podcast, the show that helps you create amazing customer experiences and make more memories. And today, I've got another solo episode for you. Normally, as you know, it's Russ and I doing this podcast together, or Russ and a guest. And every once in a while, we're dropping in these solo episodes as a different format, as a way to bring some valuable content to you, the viewers, and the listeners. And today, I want to focus on how to respond to difficult times that happen in our lives and in our businesses, and the way that we react and the way that we respond, and how that has an effect on our ability to overcome obstacles and to solve challenges and to be able to make progress to get to the goals where we want to be. And so I want to start a little bit with the kind of smaller moment-to-moment micro challenges, if you will. We all have things in our lives that we can control, internal things, and then there are a lot of external things that we have no control over whatsoever. And the Myron, who is an entrepreneur, refers to these as contributing factors and determining factors. So the contributing factor is something outside of us that contributes to our experience of life, whereas a determining factor is an internal belief, choice, or feeling about our experience of life. And I'll illustrate this with an example. So let's say that I'm traveling somewhere and my flight gets canceled, right? The fact that the flight was canceled, that's a contributing factor because it's something that contributed to my experience of the day. Now, if I were to spend the rest of the day moping and pissed off that my flight was canceled, I've taken that external thing and I've internalized it and turned it into a determining factor. I chose to become upset and pissed off the rest of the day because of the flight happening, right? We've all seen and experienced that when we're at an airport and things happen, right? Sometimes flights get canceled, sometimes they get delayed, sometimes there's weather, sometimes there's mechanical issues, whatever the case may be. And we see some people, and the way that they respond to that is by screaming and yelling and getting angry and upset. And other people are just simply calm and, I can't do anything to control that, and I'm just going to live my life the best that I can. I try to live my life in that way where I let go of control at the airport and don't try to use my anxiety and worry to change the world around me and make the airline magically have my flight be on time again, because it doesn't work that way. And I find that it's a whole lot easier to just let go of some of those things and be calm. And those contributing factors are things that are outside. You can never control those, but you can always control that internal determining factor, those internal pieces of the way what you think and what you feel and what you say and how you act. You can always control those things, because at the end of the day, annoying stuff is going to happen. Things will go wrong. Problems will persist in our business. If we are waiting for a fairy tale future where problems just don't happen anymore in our lives and in our business, we'll be waiting forever, and we're going to set ourselves up for massive disappointment. We can recognize that things will go wrong and just be able to figure it out along the way, or just be able to deal with it, right? There's a question that I heard one time related to this topic that I loved. And the question was, did you have a bad day, or did you have a bad 5 minutes that you milked for the rest of the day? And I think we've all probably been in the situation where we had a bad 5 minutes and we just let it ruin the rest of our day. We became a victim of those circumstances, right? And there's another kind of interesting perspective shift that you can do beyond the recognizing that that's a short period of time that I'm allowing to impact the rest of my day. I can just let it go and move on. Another question you can ask yourself to help you gain new perspective is, will it matter in? Will it matter in one day? Will it matter in 1 week? Will it matter in 1 year? And to keep making the timeline bigger, because almost every issue that comes up in your day, almost every problem, that once you get to the will it matter in a week or maybe a month, the answer is no. And so because of the fact that we know it's not going to matter in the long term, it helps us kind of remove the power of that issue and just be able to release it a little bit and be able to not let it have such a tight grip on our own stress and anxiety and worry the same way that we can sometimes do right now. And I'm speaking from experience. It's something I work through all the time. Every day I'm constantly working on, when these little things crop up, let it go and control the things that I can control. Now, that was on the more day-to-day kind of moment-to-moment type of things. At the same time, we're all going to have bigger seasons in life that will have hard times in weeks or in months or even entire seasons or years, whatever that might look like. And Alex Hormozi, who is an entrepreneur, had put this in a way that I really liked. And he had talked about that when we're in the middle of a hard time, we can't always see the light on the other side. And the thing that feels hard, it seems like this thing is going to be hard forever. And the thought of that being hard forever is unbearable. But hard doesn't stick around forever, because you as a person get stronger. You as an entrepreneur get stronger. You as a leader get stronger. And then when you get stronger, the thing seems easier. And so the outside world, that hardness, the difficult thing may not change, but you will. And it's a helpful reminder that we're in the midst of that hard season to remember that we are going to get stronger. And there was something that the women's basketball coach at Duke University said to her team, and I think this went viral about a year and a half ago, that I really liked, is she sees a lot in her team and then in greater life that people have this assumption that things will get easier when. For her team's sake, well, things will get easier when I'm a starter. Things will get easier when we get to the season. Things will get easier when I'm an upperclassman. Things will get easier when fill in the blank. But she said to her team, it doesn't work that way. Things don't just get easier. You as a person learn to handle hard better. And I think that's an interesting flip of the script, because we can get stuck in this pattern of expecting, well, the world just needs to become easier so that it's easier for me, when we can realize that we're just simply going to get stronger and we'll be able to handle all those hard things better. And I'm sure you have already seen this play out in your own career or your own entrepreneurial journey, right? What is a challenge? And take a moment to actually think of this right now, because you might think of many, and you probably will. But what's a challenge that at one point in the past, it seemed impossible? It seemed insurmountable, that you would never be able to figure out, that today is manageable, or maybe, dare I say, easy. And there's probably a lot of things that fall in that category that used to seem so difficult that now are manageable or are easy or are just normal. And I think that's a helpful reminder and a perspective shift for the hard things that are happening now. The future version of you is going to be stronger. The future version of you will be able to handle these things a whole lot better. And there's something that I also like that I call the good old days paradox, where you have this challenging thing right now. And if you think about the past, if you think about a challenging thing from your past that you can look back on now, where you are today, and you look back on it fondly as like the good old days of, oh, you remember when, and you can kind of smile and chuckle about it. But the same thing is going to happen for the difficult thing you're experiencing at this moment. There will be a point in time, and I don't know when, and you probably don't know when either. It could be 6 months, it could be 5 years, it could be even more. There will be a period of time in the future when you can look back on this thing that you're going through right now, and you're going to look at this as the good old days. You're going to look back on this fondly as remember when, because that version of you in the future is going to become so much stronger and better and improved, and your capacity will increase as a human and as a leader and as a business owner, that the things right now will seem so easy compared to the things that are going to happen in your path. And so I find that perspective shift is really interesting, where we can look at the stuff we have now and realize one day we're going to look back on this and we'll smile a little bit. It'll be those good old days, so to speak. The last thing that I want to hit on in today's conversation is about community and the power of community. And a lot of us know kind of intellectually, well, of course, having people around you matters, and having a community and friends and all that stuff matters. And there is an interesting experiment and study that was done to show exactly why when we're facing difficult challenges, the people that we surround ourselves with matter a great deal. So a group of researchers, they did this study in 2008 on the perception of the steepness of a hill. In other words, it was a study of how hard someone thought it would be to climb the hill in front of them. And what they found through this study was that if someone had a friend with them, they thought the hill seemed less steep than a participant who was alone. And so, in other words, when they had a friend accompany them to do this study, they thought the hill would be easier to climb just by nature of having a friend next to them. And they also found that participants, even if they were alone, all they had to do was think about a supportive friend in that moment. And those who thought of a supportive friend thought that the hill was less steep and easier to climb than the people who thought of someone that was neutral or someone that they actively disliked. And so what does this mean? Well, when we have friends and supporters around us, the challenges that are right in front of us, the challenges that we're facing don't seem as difficult. Even thinking about that supportive community, whether it is a boss or a mentor or friend, and it may change based upon the context of the challenge that you have, even thinking about your supportive community can make that challenge in front of you seem a little less difficult, that obstacle seem a little bit easier to get over. And when we're facing a difficult challenge in our life, whether it's a day or a week or a month or a season, whatever that is, we need to lean on that community. And that can take many different forms for you. It could be a colleague, a mentor, a friend, a mastermind group, a group of people within the industry that you meet with on a regular basis. The important part is it's someone or a group of people that encourage you and support you and see the best in you and want the best for you. And when we have that around us, those challenges in front of us just don't seem as daunting as if we're alone. And I love that study because it's one of those things that maybe seems sort of like, oh yeah, it's intuitive, it could make sense. But when we have some science-backed evidence to prove how much of an impact that can make, it makes us realize that we need to consistently and continually surround ourselves with those kinds of people. And if you don't have that support group, if you don't have that network, if you don't have that community, go find it. One of the great things about this industry is that people are so open and willing to help you and willing to give you advice and guidance. And even beyond the industry itself, at Action Lab Leadership, which is the company that I run, we also have group masterminds where it's a group of leaders in the family entertainment center industry who come together on a consistent basis to learn and support one another, because being a leader at times can feel lonely, but it doesn't have to be. When you get that network of people around you and you get that support, all those challenges seem a little bit easier to overcome, and then you can overcome them probably a little bit faster than you would be able to on your own. And so when we kind of recap the things that we talked about here in this episode, there are going to be challenges in life. There's going to be obstacles. There will be annoying things that happen. And that's okay. If don't expect some magical fairy tale future where problems all disappear and everything's, sunshine and rainbows all day, every day, because it won't happen. But recognize that these things will happen, and we can learn to respond better when they do. And then on the macro scale, the longer things in life, the seasons, the weeks, the months, we're going to have difficult seasons that we go through. And remembering the fact that we will get stronger. We'll be able to handle hard better. And that thing that feels insurmountable right now eventually won't feel so insurmountable. And then that last part of it is when we have a community of supportive people around us, it makes the hard thing in front of us also seem a little bit less hard. And so when we can combine all these things together, we can respond in a better way to the challenges of life, and then we can overcome them with more poise and a little bit faster than we would otherwise. And so that is where we're going to wrap it up today. We've got a lot of other great content coming your way, so don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. And if you found this episode valuable, go ahead and send it to a friend in the industry. Send it to someone else that you think might learn something from today's episode. And we'll be back next week with another topic, another episode, and we'll see you then.